My name is Caroline Walsh. I'm the VP of Sales and Marketing here at V Technologies. I'm also joined by Cheyenne Cutler at V Technologies, and I will be doing the presenting, but she may have a couple of things here and there also to answer any questions that you may have during the webinar. So I have a few PowerPoint pieces for you guys today. I'm not going to overload you with them, but I just wanted to give you an overview if you're not familiar with the StarShip shipping solution or V Technologies as a company. So here's just a little bit about V Technologies. As Adrian stated, we have been working with the Sage products for many years. We continue to build upon the original interface that we had with the Sage product, providing line item integration, further enhancements to other warehouse management systems like ScanCo and ScanForce, as well as EDI providers, TrueCommerce, SWK, Edisoft. We are trying to give you guys a place to start as far as integrated shipping, and then grow with your business if you should need warehouse management or EDI down the future. We have thousands of customers using the StarShip solution and are continuing to grow that. So a little overview on StarShip. We actually offer two different interfaces to Sage 100. You can initiate your workflow from the StarShip shipping screen or from within shipping data entry. I'm going to show the direct access way today, but if anybody's interested in seeing the other methods, we can always go through that at a different time. Just let us know via your webinar pane. StarShip is fully integrated with Sage 100, so it's a plug-and-play interface. We also give you the ability to personalize the interface through an easy-to-use mapping tool within StarShip. We support multiple carriers and modes, meaning both parcel and LTL. Supports calculating your list, negotiated and implied rates, and we'll show you that during the demo. And many customers are looking for cost savings these days, and we try to build in different ways that you can rein in your freight spend. We have rate shopping between all the available carriers that you have. We also support regional carriers, OnTrax on the West Coast, and we also support Speedy in the Midwest. So going with the regional carrier can sometimes provide you with either faster service to your customers or give you better pricing to those. We support third-party parcel insurance. That's another way to decrease your freight spend. So if you're using a company like PIP or UPIC, StarShip can automatically take the declared value, use the sales order total for that declared value, and then pass that along to the third-party insurer so that they can bill you accordingly. We also have things like late delivery reports where you can, StarShip will, in the background, track all of your shipments and then compare the delivery date to the guaranteed delivery date. And then if there's any discrepancy, StarShip will let you know about that. You can print out a report, send it off to the carrier, and make sure you get the refunds that you should be getting. And then there's always address validation. So here's a list of our supported carriers. They're a combination of both parcel and freight. On the freight side, we do utilize FreightView, who's a TMS system. They can load your negotiated rates up so that we can get your actual rates from the carriers as well as tender those shipments to the LTL carriers. Outside of FreightView, we also have direct freight integrations to UPS, FedEx, and YRC. Okay, so let's go into our demo here and start you off so you can see the integration. So what you're looking at right now is the StarShip ship screen. This is where the shippers would primarily do all of the shipping as far as accessing the orders and then processing shipments. If you look up in the upper left-hand corner of the ship screen, there's some source document information. So right now I have my source document set to sales orders. However, I can quickly switch that to customers or invoices. So customer list is typically used if you're shipping against or shipping out samples, shipping anything that doesn't have an order or an invoice associated to it. And the invoice document type is typically used if you're using a ScanCo or ScanForce solution, which is a warehouse management solution where you can do pick and pack through the handhelds. If you're using any one of those, those solutions will update Sage, and then we can bring both the header level information for the order as well as all the packaging information that was defined on the handheld directly into StarShip to further automate your shipping process. I'm going to go ahead and select sales orders here. I'm currently connected to the ABC company, just a sample company inside of Sage 100. If you do have multiple companies set up for your site, we can connect to those multiple companies and you can switch between them from within the user interface here. So from the sales order area here, I can either type, scan, or browse for the order number that I want to ship against. I'm just going to type that order 809 in, and what StarShip did was to go out to the Sage 100 system and pull in all the information associated to that order. So if you look in the left-hand pane here, we're grabbing the transportation as far as the ship via, and we're translating that from the ship via on the order to UPS next day air in this case. This particular order also, we're translating the billing type. So here for this order, this is going to be a bill third party, and we're showing their account number there. So it's one other way that we can automate the shipping process is to utilize user-definable fields and other fields inside of Sage 100 to automate things like bill, freight billing. You'll notice also here is the recipient that we're going to be shipping this package to. This particular icon here denotes that there's been some address validation done on that address, and it shows it valid. So if we go over to the right-hand side of the screen, we're on the packaging tab and the weight field. This weight is actually being calculated based on the items on this order. However, StarShip can also read the weight directly from an electronic scale, or you can type the weight in on the packaging tab here. So I'm just going to modify this. Maybe this particular package is 20 pounds. Over here in the bottom of the user interface is a little view. You can either have the packaging view. You can also, if you wanted to, look at all the orders associated to the shipment and then the items. Now, the reason why we like to be able to show you the orders is that this particular interface can also allow you to ship multiple orders against one shipment, which may be ideal for larger shipments, LTL shipments. Okay, so I'm just going to add another package here, click on Next, and put a weight in for that package. If I tab over to the shipment tab, you'll notice that here's all my shipment header level information. So things like the carrier and service automatically get translated, billing like we talked about earlier. The PO number is going to come over automatically from the order. And if I drill into Quantum View Notify here, just go into that to look at the email addresses that we're bringing over from this order. So in this case, I am bringing the email address that's associated to the order. I'm also notifying the salesperson that's associated to the order. And I'm letting the salesperson know when the shipment has actually been shipped, as well as when there is an exception. So this can really help with from a customer service perspective. If the salesperson knows that the shipment is going to be delayed due to weather or some other reason, they can just proactively notify the recipient that, hey, your package is going to be delayed, just to give them that extra level of customer service. And notification 3 here we just have set to a fixed value. So within StarShip we do give you the ability to change the default maps, and you can set those default maps either to a fixed value for any field inside a StarShip, or you can set it to bring over a Sage 100 field. So I could also rate shop this particular shipment to get my least expensive to most expensive ways to ship the package. From here, I can also see different variations as far as what I'm looking at in the columns, either business days, total days, or estimated delivery. And then also I can show both the contract and the list rate here. I'm just going to keep what was on the order, which was to go next day air. The other thing I wanted to do is just to show you the charges here. So for any of these, if I click on the entire shipment here, we'll be able to see the list rate. That's the published rate by the carrier for this particular shipment. You'll be able to see your contract rate. This is the negotiated rate that you have with the carrier, as well as the applied freight. So in this case, although the list and contract look to be around 300, my applied is showing a 0. And that's because this particular shipment is going billed third party. Somebody else is going to end up paying for this shipment. And we definitely don't want to add those freight charges back to that invoice and double charge the customer. So let's just process the shipment. We can do that from this button or by hitting F5. What StarShip is going to do is create the barcoded shipping label and update the Sage 100 system in real time. So here you'll see our UPS label that's coming up. I'm showing it on 8.5 by 11 here just so that you can see the output. But typically our customers will be printing to thermal label printers, and there'll be 4 by 6, 7 or 8 inch labels going out there. So here's my 1 of 2 and 2 of 2. So that's the shipping process. I want to just go into Sage 100 to show you the result of that shipment. Before I do, I just wanted to make sure there weren't any questions. Adrian, did anything come up while we were going through that part of the webinar?
I don't see any questions at this point.
Okay, thanks, Adrian. So if there are no questions, then let's go back into Sage 100 and show you what happened. So I'm just bringing up my desktop here. I'm going to go into invoice data entry. And I'm just going to select my last invoice. So this invoice you'll see is the order number 809 that we just shipped against. If I click on the tracking tab here, or button, it'll give you all the tracking information for that particular shipment, the carrier, the weight, the freight amount. And then also if I click on the totals tab here, you'll see that the freight amount is set to 0. And that's because that was billed third party like we showed you earlier. Okay, that pretty much covers the actual shipping process. What I wanted to go into also is to show you how easy it is to modify the field maps and translations so that you can take full advantage of the interface. So let's go back into StarShip and bring you into the Customize Interface feature. If I go into Customize Interface here, you'll notice that I have my 3 document types that I can possibly ship against. So for each document, you have a separate set of field maps. And here's my customized interface. On the left-hand side is going to be a tree view of all of the fields. And I find that the easiest way to search for something is via the search up here. So let's look for billing. because this is a commonly requested field as far as automation goes, is the actual freight billing. So things like bill third party or bill recipient. You can easily automate those inside of StarShip. So for billing type, that's one of the fields that we would need to map. We currently have that mapped over to the ship via. So this gives you the idea that StarShip can handle a one-to-many relationship, so you can have one mass field or Sage 100 field translate to many StarShip fields. So if I drill into this value translation, let me just bring this in the middle here for you guys. You'll be able to see that over on the left-hand side are all my ship via values from Sage 100, and then on the right-hand side are how those are going to be translated. So you'll see here I have UPS Red 3 set to third party, Red R set to recipient, and regular Red set to prepaid. If I wanted to modify any one of these, all I'd have to do is to click in here and select which value I would want to be translated. Okay. The other, there are other fields that are associated to billing. From a recipient standpoint, the billing account would be required. And in this case, you'll see over here on the right-hand side that we have this mapped to a user-definable field on the customer card or the AR record. Let me just click on this magnifying glass here to show you how you would modify that mapping. You would just click on there and pick the field that you needed to have mapped into that StarShip field. So if I scroll down to the bottom here, you'll notice here that these are my user-definable fields that I have inside of MAS, so I could map to any of those. These were just created through standard custom office inside of MAS or Sage 100. So that's really how easy it is to do something like an automation of a billing type that can really have an impact on your entire shipping process so that your shippers don't have to remember or manually type in the fact that something should be bill recipient and then put the account numbers in from there. Other things about the interface setup, we have freight settings and settings for creating, if you want to create the invoice or shoot off other reports after the shipping process happens, you can have another MAS report or form code printout. When we're talking about the freight update inside of Sage 100 or MAS 9200, we also have what's called freight rules, and freight rules basically allows you to further customize how and when the freight will write back into the invoice. So you can define freight rules based on MAS or Sage 100 fields, such as customer type. So if you have customers that are denoted by gold, platinum, silver, you might want to give your platinum customer a 5% discount off of the negotiated or contract rate, and you might want to charge all your other customer types the list rate. Another example of freight rules is if you wanted to have a flat fee based on the order total amount. All of those things basically are trying to get you to the point where you can enter the order number in StarShip and then just simply hit the F5 button to process that. Okay, the other thing I wanted to show you really quick before we, looks like we're quickly getting past this 30 minutes here, or close to it. I wanted to show you really quick the dashboard. So the StarShip dashboard is just a browser browser-based solution that enables you to access the StarShip data. So from here you can see key performance indicators such as the status, if all of your shipments were on time as far as from a delivery standpoint goes, or if you had any exceptions or late deliveries, those would show here. Order shipped, and here in this case I also have the top 5 customers by shipment volume showing. If I drill into any one of these areas, it'll give you additional information about the shipments that make that stat up, and then from here you can also drill in to see that shipment detail. So I can see that it was delivered. I have access to my charges, packages, and line items from here. Very similar to what you see on the actual StarShip user interface. So this solution would primarily be used by someone in the front office who may need a little more detail about the shipment than what they see inside of their Sage 100 system. Or it might be used by someone in upper management who wants to see some of these KPIs or wants to run reports to find additional detail about their shipments. Adrian, do we have any other questions?
I don't see any questions at this point, but I did have a question real quick, Caroline. Can you quickly review the international documentation process? I know that some of the folks on the line have an interest in international documentation.
Okay, sure.
And that
Adrian, I think I might have an order that might be international. Let's try 804.
And then just maybe take us through how that automatically updates the AES and the websites.
I'm just going to, it looks like I had something for 804 earlier, but let's just go ahead and, I just brought in 804. This is going to a Canadian destination. So this is an international shipment. Let's just put a weight in here. And if I drill down into any of these items, you'll see that one thing about bringing over the item level detail is that we can then use that to help you automate your international documentation. So if I drill into this international data here, click there, you'll see that for these speakers, I have the Schedule B code, the EEI, formerly known as SED classification, and what I want to print on the as far as the certificate of origin goes. So in this case, I want the NAFTA certificate of origin to print for my Canadian and Mexico shipments. Otherwise, I'll just print the standard. So the thing with this Schedule B or harmonized code, a lot of times we'll find that customers may not have this code stored inside of the inventory inside their Sage 100 system. So what you can do is StarShip can pull all the information that we can from within your Sage 100 system, but then we can fold in all the other information that StarShip stores in its database to give you a more complete picture of your shipment. So in this case, I actually do not have the Schedule B code coming in from Sage 100. This is actually being populated from the StarShip database. So you can do this either way. If you have that Schedule B code inside of Sage 100, you can map it over, and we can just grab it that way. The other thing with international is you'll see this international tab basically gives you all of your international fields in one location here. If you look down here in the bottom left-hand corner of this tab, this is where the EEI filing information is. So as Adrian mentioned, with the AES Direct integration, AES Direct is basically the website that the government has set up for shippers who are required to submit their export information. Typically, you're going to be required to submit that to the government if you're shipping to certain countries or if you ship certain commodities like firearms or if you're just shipping anything that's over 2,500. So if you fall into any one of those categories, you'll definitely be looking to submit your information to AES Direct, and StarShip gives you a nice way to automate that. So let's just bring you into this ellipse here to show you what that looks like. So this is the EEI filing information that we have. It's basically your commodities that you're shipping out. Both of my commodities are set to exempt. I'm just going to uncheck this so you can see the options if a commodity isn't exempt. So you'll see here that we have the ability to file with AESdirect.gov. And if we clicked on that link, it basically bring up the AES site with all of your commodity detail being pushed over to their site so that you don't have to enter that in manually. In addition to getting that information over to their site, once you submit that with AES Direct, StarShip can also scan the email address that's associated to the AES Direct website to get your ITN number automatically to further improve the shipping process. Because typically the ITN number is going to be emailed after the fact, and you need that ITN number in order to actually process your shipment. If anybody has opted not to go AES Direct and pay for the carrier to file on their behalf, you still have that option. So I can let UPS file on my behalf, in which case they'll take care of everything, but they will charge you a small fee for that too. So you have an option there. Everything else is pretty much the same. I mean, here you'll notice that the shipment, the ship via, the service that we selected is obviously going to be an international service here. So for every ship via value that you have inside of Sage 100, there's the domestic and there's an international mapping for that ship via. So if we process this shipment, you'll see that a message is coming up here. And it's basically telling me that for international shipments that are where I'm printing the NAFTA, the recipient tax ID or EIN number is required. So StarShip isn't going to allow you to process a shipment that doesn't have all the required fields on it. So let's just go into here and put an EIN number in and then process that. So once I process that, you'll see I'm getting the NAFTA Certificate of Origin. Automatically coming up. And I think I was playing with these commodities at some point, so I had this other commodity showing as standard. Typically for all of your commodities, you'll probably all set them to either always use standard or to use NAFTA and standard. Here's my barcoded shipping label. It's going to have some information about the commodities, as well as my reference fields that I'm bringing in from Sage 100. And then from an update standpoint, the update's going to look very much the same as it did with the other demo that I showed you, or the other example, where we create the invoice, update the tracking information, and also update the freight charges. So my tracking number and my freight charges. So your reseller is definitely the best resource to get additional information on the StarShip solution. But if you had like specific shipping questions, or support functionality, that kind of stuff, we can also help you. We're always available. I'm putting my information up on screen as well as Cheyenne's. And then there's always our website at vtechnologies.com, so feel free to use any of those resources as well.